Hello folks, Rao. I wanted to speak about the Venus retrograde cycle today. So Venus is going retrograde from May the 13th till June the 25th this year. Now normally I don't pay much attention to the retrograde cycles for the big planets like Jupiter and Saturn because it's commonplace. But this year what's peculiar is that we've got 3 retrograde cycles within a span of a week. So the energies of all of these 3 planets, Venus, Saturn and Jupiter, will be very, very strong and of course will bring in mixed results while of course at the meantime influencing each other. We could see lockdown measures, for example, lifted around this time, only to see that we go back to them again by early June due to the eclipses that are coming our way. I don't really see things starting to move smoothly with travel and the workforce until about mid-July after the eclipses and the retrograde periods. Venus and Mercury is going to be over by then. So let's get started with a discussion on the Venus retrograde. Venus starts the retrograde cycle in the Nakshatra of Mrigashira in the sign of Taurus and the Navamsha of Virgo. At this time it's receiving the aspects of Mars and Jupiter, and it's in a wide conjunction with Mercury because Mercury's also entered Taurus. It's very important to see the condition of planets when they're going retrograde and when they resume their direct motion to get an idea. It will give us hints of what to expect. Venus being in Taurus gives us 40 days to review things, revisit, reevaluate issues related to your resources, to your savings, and of course your relationships. Taurus also symbolizes food that we take in every day. So that's something that I think that we're all looking at very closely at this time. It will offer us a time, of course, to understand where these resources have been good and remain good, and where they're not good and where they will require changes. And that includes, again, eating well and saving for a rainy day. Venus also represents all of our relationships, and when retrograde can bring intense obsessive attractions into our lives. Retrograde, of course, implies unconventional, unorthodox. So if you've ever thought about dating apps as a way to connect and meet others, especially at this time, this would be a good time to do it. If you've ever thought about doing your work remotely, on a contractual basis, on an independent basis, rather than working for a company, then this would be a good time to look into it. For all the retrograde periods, going inward can be quite rewarding, actually, and you can deeply understand the issues if you are on the right path. For example, in this case, with the matters connected to Venus in your chart. But also don't hesitate to take initiative, even though you may have to revise when the retro period is lifted. We can, of course, plan and organize. When we have a transit that is similar to our birth charts, it will be much more relatable and you can take advantage of its energy more easily. So if you have a Venus retrograde in your chart, or even if you have Venus in Taurus, this would be a Venus return for you, of course. This is an excellent time for you to renegotiate matters connected to relationships and income and savings. One thing that is unquestionably a trademark of Venus retrograde is a lack of self-love and self-acceptance. So you can use the Venus retrograde periods to improve how you feel about yourself, to love yourself more, and take time out for self-care. Think about what really brings you pleasure, especially sensual pleasure like food, clothes, perfume, etc., as this is taking place in Taurus. Find the reasons for problems in earlier or current relationships. This is where old relationships reappearing in your life can help you clear away the past to make room for new relationships. Even reminiscing about old partners will help to remove your karmic baggage and lighten the load some. Some examples of things that can happen. You can meet people that you really connect with, but later you find out something about the person that was not revealed. Of course, this does not have to be a deal breaker. It could be something minor that you may have overlooked. Or you can start a job that seems the ideal job, and once you start it, you find out that people are not very friendly in your workplace. You can reconnect with people from the past, either attractions or previous relationships, simply to bring some healing and closure. Or you could realize that you were meant to be together. Or you could reconnect and see that the past was too idealized in your mind, so you could come to a conclusion in that way. This could be related to your relationships, or it could be related to how you make and save money. These are some common general themes that can come up in any Venus retrograde cycle. Now, let's talk about Venus in Mrigashira. It starts the cycle in this nakshatra, and then it slips back into Rohini, still in Taurus, of course, on May the 28th. So the majority of the cycle will be in Rohini. In the beginning of the cycle, it connects with Mars via Mrigashira, ruled by Mars, who at the time is placed in Aquarius. So see where Aquarius is in your chart. Themes related to that particular house and whatever Mars represents in your chart would likely come up. So for example, let's take Leo ascendant. This is your 4th and 9th lord, your Yogarika planet, in your 7th house at the moment. So you may be reworking issues connected to travel, your home, and with your significant other, for example. Then we see Venus slipping back into Rohini on May the 28th, where it will be most of the transit. Being that the moon is the controlling planet of Rohini, this will be connecting with the moon's waxing and waning movements throughout the month. So you could feel restless and go back and forth. And also you could see yourself changing your mind a lot about certain things. So again, it depends on the lordship of moon for you. For example, if you're a Capricorn Lagna, this could be connecting with your significant other, as that's your 7th lord. You also may be reevaluating all your relationships. Overall, Venus in this transit is in dignity. So it's important to remember that because whatever does come up will help you make the right changes in your life, even if it may not seem that way at the moment. Ultimately, it will lead to progressive changes. On June the 25th, Venus finally goes direct at 11 degrees of Taurus in the Navamsha of Aries, and this time it is only getting the aspect of Jupiter. By this time, we would have passed the 2 June eclipses, and there would have been new information and plans that may come to the surface by now. So this is a time when we can make plans, organize ourselves during this retrograde cycle, and see some forward momentum after weeks and months of waiting. That's all, folks.